Here's a fun fact from the movie Blackhawk Down. You remember that scene where the guys are getting hammered by the enemy and there's this argument back and forth, and then Captain Mike Steele uses this phrase, "We are combat ineffective"?
Don't move up! What the fuck are you doing out there?
I'm doing my job. Now we gotta get to that crash site. We gotta get out on that street and we gotta move. You have got to keep up, sir.
Don't you ever give me orders, Sergeant.
We are combat ineffective, you understand me? We got too many damn wounded to move.
Hey, give me some of your shooters and I'll circle us to the bird.
Run! You with Doc 4?
Yes, sir.
All right, hook up with Captain. Rejoin with Sean Evans. The rest of you men secure this position. Treat the wounded, we'll wait for the convoy. Then we'll rally at the crash site, roger?
My guys, let's go!
Well, I want to explain that phrase for just a second. Because if you've never been in the military, that phrase may not be as important to you as the guys that were on the ground that day. I've already described in another video how Rangers never leave a fallen comrade to fall into the hands of the enemy, how we always bring our wounded back, or in the terms of the movie Blackhawk Down, no one gets left behind. You know that. Well, that was part of the Ranger culture. It's actually a very important part of what it means to be a Ranger. Because being part of this Joint Special Operations Force that was over in Somalia, every guy there was 100% committed, body and soul, to accomplish the mission. They were all willing to bleed. Everybody was willing to sweat. Everybody was willing to struggle. And all of my buddies, including myself, were ready to die for the mission if that's what our country needed us to do. So in the middle of this battle, because the enemy force was so overwhelming, because there were so many bullets and so many bad guys out there, there was a point where there were more casualties than there were healthy guys to take care of them. At a moment like that, a commander has two choices. I can either save my own skin and run away and preserve my own life and take care of the guys that are still alive. And in order to do that, I have to leave my buddies on the battlefield and let their bodies be taken by the enemy. That's one choice. Or I'm going to have to slow down, regroup, wait for reinforcements, and get more people out here that can help me move the casualties and continue the fight. When the phrase, "we are combat ineffective," came up in that movie, that's a really tough call for a commander to make. Because combat ineffective says, I can no longer continue to fight the enemy and try to win the mission. I have too many wounded with me or dead with me. Right now, my focus has to be on the people that are wounded and dying instead of on the enemy and accomplishing the mission. For special operators, it's a really, really hard decision to make the call that you're combat ineffective. I need to pause, wait for reinforcements before I continue the fight. And that's exactly what that phrase represents in the movie Blackhawk Down. Now, the truth is that human nature inherently wants to live. Everybody wants to protect their own skin. Everybody wants to survive when the people around you are dying to your left and to your right. So it's natural to want to leave the dead bodies and run away just to protect your own life, because staying there may mean you die just taking care of the wounded and trying to get the bodies of the dead back. It's human nature to want to leave them and run away and protect your own life. I've got the greatest respect for warriors who stay on the battlefield, defend their buddies even when they're down, take care of the wounded, and bring the bodies back. And they do it at the cost of their own safety, maybe even sacrificing their own life. When Captain Mike Steele said in the movie Blackhawk Down, "We are combat ineffective," this is a technical term that describes no longer able to continue to fight the enemy. Now I have to take care of my wounded. And no special operator, no ranger, no warrior that I've ever met wants to make that decision, because that means the thing that put me in the city streets, the thing that sent me over to this country in the first place, winning the battle, defeating the enemy, accomplishing the nation's objectives, no longer has first priority. Right now, first priority is taking care of the wounded. And I can assure you, everybody in that casualty collection point where all of the wounded were collected, the casualties were collected, nobody in that casualty collection point wanted to stay there. All of them wanted to continue to fight. All of them wanted to defeat the enemy. All of them wanted to win this battle. But when the decision was made that we are combat ineffective, now we're going to have to wait for reinforcements. That wait turns into hours. And in the course of those hours, some of those wounded guys, because they didn't get evacuated, didn't get the medical attention that they needed, they died from loss of blood right there in those city streets. It's a really tough job to lead warriors in combat. And sometimes you have to make the decision, we can no longer continue the mission with the size of the force that we have. We are combat ineffective, air quotes. We need reinforcements before the healthy guys can keep fighting the enemy and try to win this battle. Right now, what we have to do is take care of the wounded and protect the bodies of the dead. And that's what he meant by that phrase, we are combat ineffective. It's just a little comment for you when you see the movie Blackhawk Down, so that that phrase, combat ineffective, doesn't go right over your head and you miss the significance of what that statement means. Just a little fun fact for you from Blackhawk Down.